It's interesting that he chose Jasmine Crockett. Now, she doesn't serve in any leadership position. She's in the minority party. I wonder why he didn't single out, for instance, the President of the United States. And is he serving his constituents, the people that voted for him, by, I don't know, attacking a comedian and maligning a comedian, or maligning the opposition, the Democratic Party, or rambling in front of generals and the Navy? How is his constituents served? Does he serve his constituents like Mike Johnson, who constantly calls recesses so he won't have to deal of the matters of Congress? Or Jim Jordan, who's been in Congress for 18 years and never has written one piece of legislation? So why would it be her that you would single out? Her job to represent her constituents. When you're in the opposition party, the minority party, your job is to object and to be loud, to be a fly in the orbit, to gum up the works. She's doing what it is she has the power to do, what's in her capacity to do, what's in her bandwidth to do.
D.L. Hughley is not pleased with this guy.
I just disagree on what she's making headlines for, because I think it's counterproductive to the ultimate goal. But yet, here we are, and the word disrespect comes in, and people try to engage with words, like disrespect and implying misogyny and all of this other nonsense. Stop it. Can we just say, yo, Stephen A., I disagree with you. Here's why. We got Willie D. Put up that quote, please. He's putting out quotes or texts or tweets about me. Let's see that again. Stephen A. Smith taking shots at Jasmine Crockett ain't just messy, it's weak. Dude is sitting on one of the biggest mics in America, and instead of using it to uplift, he's tearing down a black woman who's out here putting in real work. That ain't critique, that's betrayal. Jasmine Crockett ain't the problem. She's the kind of woman who walks into rooms full of snakes and makes the snakes flinch. Meanwhile, Stephen's showing what happens when the paycheck gets louder than the principal. That sucker straight up, end quote. Wow, Willie D. You sure are uplifting. I mean, I got to be touched. That was inspirational. Really, that really, really was. That was inspirational.
Because he called her out.
To touch on something, because I know that many of you prepared for today's hearing by making sure that you got a little bit of information about immigrants and crime in your cities. Let me ask each of the mayors, just yes or no, have any of you been made aware of any immigrant that has had 34 felony convictions that has still been able to roam around in your cities? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
34 felony convictions.
No,
from the
Congresswoman.
immigrants. Anybody?
I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious, because we are so concerned about crime, and I know that my Republican colleagues would never want anybody with 34 felony convictions roaming around, because that could be a danger to the community. But I will move on.
Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
He's got to deal with black woman issues
Oh my God.
writ large, and whatever self-hate exists within him.
That is self-hate. Before
I've
black women.
never seen a clip of him where he actually praises a black woman.
That's what I'm saying. He's got
something
black woman issue he's got to deal with. But
For those who are listening, that was Stephen A. Smith commentating about Jasmine Crockett's lack of work. For context, there was a poll that was recently done, and Jasmine Crockett's approval numbers amongst the American people rival Barack Obama's in 2008. So just for context, he is on an island unto himself. Because
or
people,
caping for some
because
other
people
element.
because people see her largely working on our behalf. And I also want to say, we recently had Jasmine Crockett on. It was on my solo pod, and Jasmine is on the show talking about having to go get fit for a bulletproof vest. So this is not the time for this.
I will tell you that there is a through line between the Ice Cubes and the Jason Whitlocks and the Stephen A. Smiths. And these individuals, and Ice Cube may be slightly different than the other two,
Slightly,
but
yes.
these individuals have been around since we have been on this freedom struggle. There have always been individuals out there which exhibit behaviors of charlatans who utilize, some people are in it for the change and some people are in it for the change. Right. And I think that that's indicative. And they find the easiest path to the front of the line. And Stephen A. Smith is someone who doesn't have the depth to talk about House oversight or the appropriations process, right? And how you're able to bring resources back to your community, or what Jasmine is doing. So he rather lampoon her, or instead of having a constructive conversation. And so I've said what I've had to say about Stephen A. Smith in my book anywhere I can. I don't have a lot of use for him in the political dialogue. I think that there are individuals who he matriculated with at Winston-Salem State University that are extremely disappointed about the man he's become.
From Native Land Pod.
I like how she tells how she honestly feels about things.
Yeah, they can, go ahead.
Okay.
See, they can say whatever they want. Why she can't say what she want?
Yes,
Like,
and I would say you said Stephen A. is in hot water. Stephen A. is not in hot water because this is exactly what he does. He says things and people respond to it. He is provocative. He gets the people going, right? It's all content. Everybody just making content, so it makes for good conversation. Now, as far as what he said about Jasmine Crockett, and me and Stephen A. spoke about this behind the scenes this week, but I don't think any elected official is above critique, but you got to criticize their policy. And it seems like Stephen A. is criticizing her style. And if you are criticizing her style and telling her she needs to change her style to be able to get things done, but also telling her to do that, to get things done with one of the most uncouth political figures ever in Donald Trump, then I got to say that, you bugging. All right. Trump talks crazy. So you can't call out Jasmine for allegedly talking crazy, his words, but not Trump. And I also believe that, Tamika Mallory and Bakari Sellers, they need to have a conversation with Stephen A. They should go on Stephen A's show and explain to him why playing nice with Trump doesn't work. But if you don't agree with Jasmine Crockett and you're telling Jasmine Crockett she needs to talk a certain way to be able to work with Trump, who talked crazier than Donald Trump?
To Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club.
I do take issue, Rick, with the fact that why would he come after Jasmine Crockett and not go after Hakeem Jeffries? And like his approach to his anger was more about her stylistic approach than it was about leadership. And I just think that often Stephen A. and some other brothers in particular find it easier going after women than they do going after men. But the interesting thing is being loud and brash, and in some cases confrontational, is exactly what got Stephen A. Smith the $25 million he got. And so he's lambashing somebody who is doing their job, who is representing the people, who is standing up, who is being brave, who is being courageous for a stylistic approach that's exactly like his damn approach. And so the hypocrisy of it, and especially just with, I just am tired of seeing brothers go after sisters and they won't go after men. If you want to attack somebody in the Democratic Party about not working with Trump or about not doing what you think makes sense, even though it doesn't make sense, then why aren't you engaging Hakeem Jeffries? Why aren't you engaging Schumer? Why aren't you engaging those that actually have a leadership position within the Democratic Party?
Jeff Johnson on Ricky Smiley's YouTube page.
He has selective journalistic prosecutorial skills and the abilities. He's a selective journalistic prosecutor. He selectively and almost exclusively, journalistically and verbally attacks magically melanated, AKA black people. So what he said about Jasmine Crockett, I'm not surprised, because you can't say that about her and ignore all the other things that politicians say and do and show you. But that's what he does. That's why he got that money. But he don't understand the Most High gave him that money. I keep telling people Proverbs 29 and 26. Many seek the ruler's favor, but every man's judgment comes from the Lord, the Most High. So he's seeking the ruler's favor, but not understand the real ruler is the one that's giving him his blessings. And the real ruler is the one that'll take it back if he don't straighten out. So that's what he does, man. That's why he got that money.
Ditto with Doc Holliday, who, let's be clear, has been critiquing Stephen A. Smith for years now. Look, y'all come for the truth. All right, so here it is. I think that there are many reasons to criticize anyone, including Jasmine Crockett. We should not stand our politicians. We should hold them accountable. Many will think that this network loves, let's say, a Bernie Sanders or an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. No. Me personally, they're close to being more leftist, but still not there. They do not fit the ideal mold. But what just strikes me is someone like Stephen A. Smith going after Jasmine Crockett because of the way that she speaks? Like, she's a lawmaker, she's an attorney, accomplished black woman, and you're putting her down because of her rhetoric? And the critiques from a few folks that we heard are essentially that she is in the minority party. You are in the opposition party. You are in the powerless party. Yes, that is true. And there are ways to muck it up. There are ways to make headlines. There are ways to have certain things go mainstream in order to push back against the party in power. That is what she's trying to do a lot of the time. She is not perfect. No one is. But when you have no power, you have to try and create a form of leverage. And Stephen A. going after her this way just feels foul. It just does. It feels like a person who says this would also state that we have to find a way to maneuver in the media space because he's coming after media. So what we should do is bend the knee to fascism. That's what it sounds like. Oh, wait a minute. He said that a few weeks ago. That's what he said. Reading between the lines, that is exactly what he said. So I'm not surprised by any of this. I'm not surprised by anything that Stephen A. says at this point, because all he is an opportunist. He's a man who tries his best at every turn to stay in the limelight. And now, sadly, he has found another lane to do so.